Travelers, welcome to Silver Springs. Florida's Silver Springs has captivated people for centuries. With its crystal clear waters and abundant wildlife, it is one of the largest artesian spring systems in the world, pumping out hundreds of millions of gallons of water each day. Long before it became a tourist attraction, indigenous peoples revered this oasis. Over time, Silver Springs transformed from a wilderness sanctuary into a bustling destination for explorers, steamboat travelers, glass-bottom boat tourists, and even Hollywood filmmakers. In the modern era, it stands as both a cultural icon and a protected state park. The story of Silver Springs is a rich narrative, spanning from the ancient indigenous heritage to 21st century conservation. Humans have been drawn to Silver Springs for thousands of years. Archaeological discoveries show that nearly 12,000 years ago, Paleo-Indians lived in the springs and hunted Ice Age megafauna in the area. Scuba explorations in the 1970s uncovered Columbian mammoth bones bearing butcher marks alongside stone spear points, tangible evidence that early inhabitants camped and hunted around these waters. By the 1500s, the Timucua people inhabited the region, calling it Ocali, which would later inspire the name of Ocala. The Timucua thrived around the spring's life-giving waters, fishing and gathering in what they considered a sacred place. This peaceful existence was disrupted in 1539, when Spanish explorer Hernando de Soto marched through the Timucua territory. De Soto likely camped near the springs at the Timucua village of Ocali, becoming the first European to behold Silver Springs. The encounter proved devastating for the Timucua. Conflict with the Spaniard and European diseases decimated the tribe by the 1700s. In the ensuing years, migrants from the Creek Nation moved into the vacated lands. These groups evolved into the Seminole tribe, who cherished the springs as a hunting and camping ground just as their predecessors did. During the early 1800s, the Seminoles defended this territory in a series of conflicts with the United States. Fort King, established in 1827 near present-day Ocala, became a key U.S. outpost during the Seminole Wars, making a violent struggle for control of the region. By 1842, at the end of the Second Seminole War, most Seminoles had been forced further south, and the stage was set for American settlers to move into the area of Silver Springs. After Florida was ceded to the United States in 1821, adventurous settlers and entrepreneurs began venturing into the Silver Springs wilderness. In the 1820s, a trickle of curious travelers navigated up the narrow, twisting Ocklawaha River, often by pulling small boats, to reach the Silver River headwaters and marvel at the springs. As Central Florida opened to development, the springs quickly gained a reputation for both their utility and beauty. By 1850, Silver Springs had become a regional commerce hub. Barges laden with cotton, produce, and lumber plied the Silver and Ocklawaha River, using the spring run as a natural highway to transport goods from local plantations. The burgeoning settlement of Ocala benefited from this trade, and small homesteads and farms sprang up alongside the riverbanks in the shadow of the Great Springs. It wasn't long before sightseers followed the traders. In the years just after the Civil War, northern tourists began flocking to Florida in search of exotic natural beauty and warmer climates. Silver Springs became a must-see destination on the 19th century Grand Tour of Florida. Steamboats were the height of modern travel, and companies like the Hart Line and Lucas Line ran paddle wheel steamers up the teak-colored Ocklawaha River to the springs, bringing wide-eyed visitors into this jungle paradise. The competition for tourist business grew so fierce that rival steamboat captains would even race each other with passengers on board to arrive first at Silver Springs. By the 1870s, the once isolated springs were firmly on the map as a premier excursion. Travel writers and poets raved about the journey. For example, author Harriet Beecher Stowe vividly described the enchanted river voyage in her 1873 book, Palmetto Leaves, piquing national interest. Wealthy guests soon could lodge in comfort. A lavish 200-room hotel was completed near the main spring in 1881 to accommodate the increasing crowds. The arrival of the railroad in 1879 further boosted accessibility, linking Silver Springs to the growing rail network, and even bringing more visitors to Marion County. One of the most fateful innovations in Silver Springs history occurred in the late 1870s, adding a new kind of magic to the visitor experience. The spring's water was so flawlessly transparent that one could peer down to the aquatic grasses waving 30 feet below. Enterprising locals devised a way for tourists to easily view the underwater wonderland, the glass-bottom boat. Credit for the invention is usually given to two Ocallans, Hollam Jones and Philip Morrell, who around 1877-1878 fixed panes of glass into the hull of a rowboat. The first iteration was simple, reportedly a dugout canoe with a window-like glass box built into the bottom, but it caused a sensation. For a few cents, Gilded Age travelers could glide over the Silver Springs and gaze straight down at fish, turtles, and swaying aquatic plants, as if looking through a giant aquarium. What had been a private view for adventurous swimmers was now accessible to anyone willing to take a seat on a glass-bottom boat tour. By the 1890s, larger glass-bottom boats were in regular operation, and a unique industry was born. Silver Springs gained national attention through glowing journal reviews, cementing its status as Florida's first major tourist attraction. The glass-bottom boats only grew more elaborate over time. By 1909, new owner Ed Carmichael had added cushioned seats and canvas canopies to shade guests from the Florida sun. No longer did visitors have to squat and peer through makeshift boxes. They could enjoy the underwater spectacle in comfort and style. In the 1920s, gasoline engines were installed to propel the boats, replacing human rowers. And by 1932, the fleet had been upgraded with quiet electric motors that disturbed neither wildlife nor the serenity of the experience. What began as a backwoods curiosity had evolved into an efficient operation, allowing thousands to explore nature's underwater fairyland each year. The glass-bottom boats became synonymous with Silver Springs, a symbol of the park's marriage of natural beauty and inventive tourism. Glass-bottom boat tours have been the signature attraction at Silver Springs since the 1870s. The Princess Donna, built in 1934, is one of Florida's oldest surviving glass-bottom boats. Originally powered by oars, then by gasoline and electric motors, these boats allowed generations of visitors to peer into a crystal-clear underwater world without getting wet. By the early 20th century, Silver Springs was thriving as Florida's original tourist mecca. Entrepreneurs saw the potential of the site and continuously added new attractions to entice visitors. No one did more to shape Silver Springs in this era than Carl Ray and Shorty Davidson, who took over operations in 1924. Under their stewardship, the springs were developed to a full-fledged nature theme park. Ray and Davidson expanded the glass-bottom boat tours, perfecting the gasoline-powered boats in the 1920s, and built additional amenities for guests. They also invited outside partners to create unique exhibits. In 1929, a young herpetologist named Ross Allen established the Silver Springs Reptile Institute on their grounds. Allen's demonstrations with snakes and alligators thrilled audiences and made him a minor celebrity. Visitors would gather around as he wrangled huge alligators or milked venomous snakes for research, adding a dash of frontier adventure to the park's serene setting. The Reptile Institute became a fixture of Silver Springs for decades, drawing thousands of curious tourists and advancing scientific knowledge of Florida's reptiles. Meanwhile, another colorful character, Colonel Tui, launched the Jungle Cruise boat tour in the 1930s, an offshoot of the main river cruises that wound its way into the wild backwaters. To enhance the jungle atmosphere, Colonel Tui released a troop of rhesus monkeys onto an island in the Silver River. The idea was that guests would glimpse monkeys along the banks during their cruise, as if on an exotic Amazon voyage. Unbeknownst to him, the rhesus monkeys were excellent swimmers. They promptly escaped the island by swimming across the river and colonized the forest along the Silver River banks. To this day, wild monkeys can be spotted in the trees of Silver Springs, a living reminder of the park's quirky past. These primates became something of an attraction in their own right, surprising unsuspecting boat riders and occasionally helping themselves to snacks. By the late 1930s, Silver Springs offered a whole palette of experiences. Scenic boat rides, a zoo-like reptile show, jungle cruises with free-ranging monkeys, and the simple awe of the massive springs themselves. It was a one-stop showcase of Florida's wonders, earning the nickname Nature's Theme Park. Silver Springs' lush primeval scenery, with its sapphire blue waters, grand cypress trees, and jungle-like riverbanks, not only attracted tourists, but also caught the eye of Hollywood. Film producers found the springs an ideal standard for tropical settings. And starting in the silent film era, Silver Springs became a popular outdoor studio. As early as 1916, a silent picture called The Seven Swans was filmed on location here. But the springs truly shot to stardom in the 1930s, when Hollywood came calling in a big way. In 1932, John Weissmuller swung on vines and swam in Silver Springs while filming Tarzan the Ape Man, the first of a string of Tarzan movies that would use the park as a backdrop. In all, 6 of the original Tarzan films from 1932 to 1942 were filmed at Silver Springs, their jungle action sequences taking full advantage of the lush scenery. The clear water was perfect for underwater shots of Tarzan wrestling alligators or diving in with Jane. Film crews built a thatched treehouse set along the shore and left behind props that for years added to the jungle ambiance. One could even spot a Tarzan's treehouse along the river during the later boat tours. Silver Springs' Hollywood career didn't end with Tarzan. In 1954, the classic monster movie Creature from the Black Lagoon shot its eerie underwater scenes in the spring's depths, using a glassy visibility to portray a creepy prehistoric lagoon. Visitors peering over the boat rails sometimes saw the film's leftover props resting on the bottom, like the derelict boat and statues used in underwater sequences. The park appeared in dozens of films through the mid-20th century, from jungle adventures to war dramas. Gary Cooper's 1951 film Distant Drums, set in the Seminole Wars, features Silver Springs as the wild Florida swamps. Even James Bond made an appearance, or at least his film crew did. Parts of the 1979 Bond film Moonraker were filmed at Silver Springs, doubling as the Amazon River. Perhaps most surprisingly, a scene from Rebel Without a Cause, 1955, was shot underwater at Silver Springs, a far cry from that film's Los Angeles setting. The Springs also hosted television productions in the late 1950s. The popular television series Sea Hunt filmed numerous episodes on location, with actor Lloyd Bridges scuba diving in the Silver Springs. By the 1950s, Silver Springs was not just a Florida attraction, but a nationally recognized icon, thanks in part to its film fame. Postcards, brochures, and newsreels beamed images of glass-bottomed boats and jungle rivers into living rooms across America. Visitation peaked. More than 800,000 people poured into Silver Springs in the year 1950 alone. This was the golden age of Silver Springs. Families would pack into station wagons and head down the new highways to Ocala, eager to see in person the fantastical place they had heard about. However, this heyday also unfolded under the shadow of segregation. Like many southern attractions at the time, Silver Springs was segregated by race during the Jim Crow era, a painful chapter in its history. In 1949, Ray and Davidson opened a separate facility downriver called Paradise Park, advertised as Silver Springs for colored people, to provide black visitors access to similar boat tours and amenities. Paradise Park became a popular destination for African American families until it closed in 1969, when Silver Springs finally integrated and welcomed all guests jointly. By the 1960s, Silver Springs remained wildly popular, drawing visitors from around the world. In 1962, the attraction was sold to ABC Paramount for $7.5 million. The new corporate owners modernized some facilities and heavily promoted the park, and for a time, Silver Springs prospered under ABC's management. In 1971, in recognition of its unique natural importance, Silver Springs was designated a National Natural Landmark by the U.S. Department of the Interior. This honor highlighted the spring's exceptional water clarity, biodiversity, and geological significance. But even as it earned its landmark status, Silver Springs was facing new challenges. In the 1970s, Central Florida's tourist landscape shifted dramatically. The Walt Disney World Resort opened in 1971, followed by other mega attractions like SeaWorld in 1973 and later Universal Studios. These Orlando giants drew away the attention of tourists, and attendance at Silver Springs began a steady decline. Once the unrivaled star of Florida tourism, Silver Springs now had to compete with theme parks featuring thrill rides and fantasy environments. The park's revenues fell, making it harder to maintain the aging facilities and managing the ecosystem. At the same time, environmental problems that afflicted many Florida springs became evident at Silver Springs. Rapid development in the surrounding area led to fertilizer runoff, wastewater leakage, and other pollutants seeping into the aquifer. Nitrate levels in the spring waters rose, fueling algae blooms that tinted the once pristine springs with strands of brown algae. Visitors noticed the difference. The water wasn't as quite as sparkling blue as before, and aquatic plant life suffered. Through the 1980s and 90s, various operators tried to keep the attraction profitable, like adding new features like a Wild West theme park called Six Gun Territory next door and a water park, but the trend wasn't favorable. Ultimately, the state of Florida recognized that this natural treasure needed stronger protection and consistent management. In 1993, Florida purchased the land under Silver Springs to safeguard it, but allowed a private concessionaire to continue running the attraction. The public-private arrangement lasted for 2 decades. The state terminated the private lease and merged the property with the adjacent Silver River State Park, creating the unified Silver Springs State Park on October 1st, 2013. The once bustling amusement park elements were dismantled, and the focus returned entirely to restoration, conservation, and education. The history of Silver Springs, Florida is an epic tale that flows as richly as the spring water itself. From the Timucua and Seminole peoples who first cherished these clear waters, to the steamboat captains and the early tourists who proclaimed its beauty, to the showmen, filmmakers, and park managers who made it an icon of Florida culture, Silver Springs has continually reinvented itself while preserving its core allure. It has been a meeting place of nature and human imagination, a place where glass-bottomed boats revealed hidden worlds, where monkeys roamed free on river islands, and where Tarzan's yell once echoed through cypress groves. Now as a state park, Silver Springs enters a new chapter, one focused on preservation and reflection. The springs remain as mesmerizing as ever, bubbling up 99.8% pure artesian waters that tell stories of Florida's ancient past. As visitors peer through the glass-bottomed boats today, they not only glimpse fish and swaying grasses below, but also the reflection of a storied history on the surface above. Silver Springs endures, a living legend of Florida's natural and cultural heritage. Well, travelers, that's going to do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Quite kind of long one, but yeah, it was fun. And hope you enjoyed it. And we'll see you next time. Thanks again.